Before we dive deeper into what the Search Console can do, let's review some important settings together. I'm here on the Search Console dashboard, and I'm going to select the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, and from the dropdown, select Site Settings. Google's going to give us two options. The first is to set your preferred domain, and the second is to set your crawl rate. Now, your preferred domain is what you want displayed and used when Google indexes your site pages. Technically speaking, this is known as your canonical domain. Really, what's happening is that your website can exist both as www.mysite.com or just mysite.com. Now, you may have configured your site to redirect mysite.com to www.mysite.com, or maybe vice versa. Google just wants to know how you'd like to display your site in the search results. It doesn't matter if you use www or non-www, and it won't impact your SEO one way or the other. The important thing is just to choose the version that you want used for your site in the search results. This really helps prevent Google from indexing them differently and potentially confusing your users. You'll select the option that makes the most sense to you, and then choose Save. Now, you might notice that when I chose Save, Google gives me an alert, and it says part of the process of setting a preferred domain is to verify that you also own the other domain that you did not select. So you'll need to then verify that domain, and you'll do that by going back home in the Search Console and adding a new property, this time without the www or with it, and you'll follow the same steps to verify that we saw in the first movie. Once you've done this, the next time Google crawls your site and refreshes the index, it'll format all the links per the preference you've set. If you don't specify a preferred domain, Google may treat the www and non-www versions of the domain as separate references to separate pages. It's also good to know that Google will treat your site differently if you use HTTPS as opposed to HTTP. You might be encrypting all of your traffic over HTTPS if you're using an SSL certificate or if you have an e-commerce platform. In that case, you'll want to set up another site with HTTPS, especially if your site switches between the two. Next, we have the option to change the Google crawl rate. Now, there's very few reasons you would ever change this. Google has some very smart algorithms that figure out how much to crawl your site. They try to be sensitive to make sure that they crawl without overwhelming your server's bandwidth. But on the rare chance that you determine Google is crawling far too often and causing your site to slow down, you can customize the crawl rate. The crawl rate is the total time that the Googlebot, that's the name of the Google crawler, will spend on your site. You'll select the radio toggle for Limit Google's Maximum Crawl Rate, and then you can change it by moving the slider here at the bottom of the screen. You'll notice the requests per second, and the time between requests will change based on where you position the slider. Changing the crawl rate can cause problems, so don't do this unless you know for certain Google is causing an issue. I'm simply going to choose Cancel and leave this as the recommended setting. Next, let's take a look at country targeting. In the left-hand menu, select Search Traffic, and then choose International Targeting from the dropdown. From here, I'm going to select Country, and now we have the option to target users. When a user enters a query into Google, Google's going to return the most relevant and useful links. This means that a user in Canada might see different results than a user in Germany or the United States. If your site uses a generic domain such as .com, .net, or .org, Google needs help understanding where you want your results to appear. So you'll simply select in the Target Users dropdown the country that's most relevant to you. Now, rest assured that this won't impact your appearance in search results unless a user limits the scope of the search to a certain country. If your site has a country-coded top-level domain such as .ie or .de, it is already going to be associated with a geographic region, in this example, Ireland or Germany. Therefore, you can't actually change your country target. It's going to go ahead and default that because of your domain extension. Now, if your site operates in multiple languages, there are many ways to handle this. The most common is by using href language tags. If I select the language section here, you can choose Learn More at the top of the screen to get more intel on that. I'm not going to be diving into that within this course. That's really all there is to your initial configuration. Take a minute to review these settings in your Search console and make sure everything is as you'd like it to be.